5 years ago, I set out on the most epic adventure of my life, riding a bike to the South Pole. This is my story. Last week, I did the final preparations at Union Glacier, flew to Hercules Inlet where I was dropped off, fell into a crevasse, and celebrated my 50th birthday alone in the middle of Antarctica.
Well, I made it through a difficult day yesterday. I had only been making short distances. I thought maybe it would be easier to pull one sled at a time, which it was, but traveling 3 times the distance, it was slower. And so I did that for the first 3 miles yesterday and realized that it just was a stupid thing to be doing. So I switched to pulling everything with the bike at the same time. It was supposed to be 10.4 miles to this waypoint here on what they call the road. It's not really a road, it's just a route that they use to refuel the skiway at Thiel's Mountain, and since they've run the tractors and pulled sledges and stuff, there's some pretty packed snow ice underneath the top layer, and so it gives a nice firm base. It's not as packed as what maybe I thought it would be, but hopefully from here out I can pull the sleds with the bike. Actually riding yesterday, if I was just pulling one sled with the bike, I could ride. I did quite a bit of riding yesterday. I would pull one sled forward for 15 minutes and go back, get my bike, ride the bike, pulling the other sled. It was a lot of work, and actually it was faster riding it, but more time spent recovering. And so I did that for a while. I've ridden the bike every day, wherever possible. Anyway, so I'm doing pretty good. I put in a really long day yesterday. I started at like 4:30, finished at 8 o'clock, 8:30. So it was a long day, but I hit my goal, and from here on out, I hope to be able to pull with the bike. My stuff is still kind of heavy. I need to eat a lot of food. I'll do a little more video of outside. I was just so concentrated on getting here that I didn't worry about much else. So hopefully here on I can have a little more ability to get some good video.
Trying to lighten my load by eating as much as possible and adding orange mix or hot chocolate to the water to use it up. I think it is helping. I don't know how well I'll be able to travel the road, but I am hoping for 24 miles a day. I didn't get 24 miles today. In fact, towards the pole I only got 5. The thing was, I changed my load to add weight to the panniers just to try to see if that would make things better, but it made it worse. And so then, after a while, I went and moved the load from the panniers back to the sled, and while I was doing that, I realized I didn't have my shovel, and the shovel is an important safety thing here. I left it when I put the weight in the pannier. I had to go back, and that was like about a 5-mile trip back to where I had made that swap. And so I got on my bike and I rode back, and then grabbed my shovel, and as I was riding back with no load, just my bike and not pulling any sleds and stuff, and riding over a path that I'd ridden over a couple times, and so the surface was really packed and everything. The bike was just going great, and it was actually the most fun I've had this whole expedition. It was an enjoyable, fun trip back, and so it's like it was, leaving the shovel, that wasn't so bad. At least I got some fun out of it. Then I loaded up my sleds and moved the weight from the panniers back to the sleds and headed out, and got to where I finished my first 5 hours of the day, and I figured I'd go ahead and set up camp and get something to eat. As I go to do that, I discovered that I didn't have my shovel again. And so, as stupid as it was to leave the shovel, the first time, leaving it a second time was I was just so upset with myself. So I rode all the way back, got my shovel again, and came back. So I got, I rode a lot of miles today, but only made about 5 miles towards the pole.
Well, with the wind the way it is, it's impossible to look and see the viewfinder, see what I'm filming. But here I am in it said the forecast was for 30 knot winds out of the south. So this feels like it's a 30, 40 mile an hour wind, and it has become impossible to push forward in the wind. Let me turn around and point into the wind for a second, but there's probably too much snow and stuff blowing. Can't do it. So there's what I'm trying to head into. It's just it takes so much effort just to move it all into this wind. So I don't know, I'd be real tempted to set up the tent, but I don't want to set up the tent in this wind either. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I could set up the tent and try to sit it out for a little bit, but I need to make progress. And like I said, setting up the tent in this would be a real pain. So I think I'm just going to try to keep moving on. But it's cold and windy right now. But Antarctica, if you don't like the weather, too bad.
Well, the wind won. I tried to keep going as long as I could, but I just couldn't even push with the wind blowing on everything. It was stronger than I could push. And so I didn't want to set up the tent in this raging wind. Excuse me, in the raging wind, but in the end I had no other choice. So I'm in the tent early. Guess I'll try to wait this out. Hopefully, the storm's supposed to stay windy like this for another day or two, but it was actually pretty good this morning, so hopefully it'll die down a little bit and I'll get some more biking in this morning. And not what I needed. I'm trying to get some miles in, but it's just not working very well, so maybe later. Well, it was windy all night. I was thinking if the wind slowed down a bit, I would take off early, but it's not as bad as it has been, but it's still pretty windy. I'm gonna close up camp here and see if I can't make a little bit of progress today. Hopefully the wind gets better as the day goes on. It's supposed to get better towards the evening, so yeah, see where we get there. Not making very good progress because every day it's either the snow is so soft, my sleds are too heavy, the wind's too much, and I'm just not getting very many miles in. So I need to start doing better. Just a nice cold morning. It was 40 mile an hour winds yesterday, so I had to pack in early and quit. But it's still really windy today. I can't stay in the tent forever, so I'm just pushing into the wind. Sometimes you just gotta make sure you're going in the right direction, so you gotta look far enough ahead to see where you're going. Other times it's so hard
you're going, you just gotta look down, push. Go for a while, and reassess where you're going and go again. I called my wife and told her that with the number of miles I'm getting every day, I'm just not going to make it to the South Pole. I had decided before I ever left on this expedition that no matter what, I was going to keep going. So when I was talking to my wife, I told her, you know, I'm not going to make it to the South Pole, but I want to keep going and see how far south I can get. You know, the day was kind of a hard day as I start looking back at things. I've been running a bike store for about 6 years, and I'm losing a lot of money doing that, and you start looking at that and all the other aspects of your life, and you just start thinking that I'm just a failure at everything I'm doing, and it's just like, can't I be successful at just one thing? And so it's kind of a sad day, and just hoping to see how far south I can get, and maybe at least set a record for getting the furthest towards the pole. And then the very next day, 15.3 nautical miles. Finally a day that I traveled enough miles to be able to be successful. If I can average 15 miles a day from here out, I should make it. The snowdrifts from the recent wind have started to get hard, making travel easier. Sometimes I even go a whole mile without stopping. December 11th, 15 nautical miles today. I was told that it was the most miles for any expedition, probably because the other expeditions are further south and they have more uphill. The snow keeps getting better. I can now bike over snowdrifts that yesterday were soft and extremely difficult to push over. Even though the conditions get easier, my workload remains the same. I just get more distance. Got another 15.1 nautical miles in today, which is a number that works well. Big milestone of the day. I completed my first degree. I stopped for a minute at 81 degrees south and celebrated with a drink of weak chocolate water and pink honey stinger waffle, and then continued on. Only 9 more degrees to go, and that first one was the toughest one because of the climb out of Hercules Inlet and having to go around the big crevasse field. There are still a few crevasses I have to go around, but mostly from here on it is headed south. So at 15 nautical miles a day, that is 4 days per degree, and I should be able to arrive at the South Pole before the end of the season. Next week, I battle whiteout conditions and make it to my first food cache.
Well, as I go along here, I can get uglier and uglier. Getting ready. It's according to the time I'm going by, 4:40 today. And gonna eat some breakfast and pack up the tent and get moving. So I'm just going to set this over here and see if we can kind of get a feel for what breakfast is like. Record. Okay. Maybe that'll work.
not, too bad. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Oh, trying to warm up my sunscreen. Try to keep my face, combination of keeping it from frostbite and sunburn at the same time. So I guess I can do this while the water is warming up, so I need to be more efficient. So I'm gonna quit doing this for a minute. Oh, okay. First order, I'm gonna set up my stove here, bring in my boot and get it warming up. It's not really much warm in this part of the tent. It will be a lot warmer in the tent in just a minute. A little ice on my iPad. That boot sitting in the sun's actually kind of warm. This is my spot I'm digging ice from, or snow from. Clean the top layer back off. Usually I'll get a spot that I can dig that ice right there pretty easy. Today's where I picked to camp, I can't dig there very well, but I always make that my spot where I get the snow. This is a little bit of a dangerous thing to be doing. The canister can get quite cold, and apparently it's one of the leading causes of frostbite, so I have to be careful with the gas canister to make sure I'm not freezing my fingers. And in fact, I'm gonna find glove here to hold the canister while I pump it up. Make sure my lighter's working. Okay, that'll work. That's the first time I've screwed that up. Get enough. And then turn the fuel back on soon enough. That's the biggest fireball I've ever created. And now it's nice and toasty in the tent. Use my spoon as a shovel here to get some melt snow. there's, well, I don't know. We'll see if that's enough snow. Let that heat up. Well, I start getting everything ready to go. Got lots of lighters. Keep one in this bucket normally. One in this bucket. So I can find one if I need one at any time. Bottom of my thing's got ice melted to it, but inside it's nice warm liquid. Actually about cool today. These flasks are great at keeping me with drinkable water throughout the day. Only problem is the outside of it can get cold, and so then you go and you put your mouth on it to get a drink, and it's like sticking your tongue on that frozen pipe. So it's a little dangerous. I have to be careful how I drink to not frostbite my lips, my tongue. One of the hard things of this whole thing is all the time walking, biking, anyway, working and making my joints sore, or I'm sitting inside the tent, cramped up, and my legs, my knee gets sore. So not a lot of stretching ability inside the tent. So I'm gonna have some apple cinnamon granola. The blueberry version of this is really good. This is good too. I'll eat as big of a breakfast as I can. It's gonna be a while before I can get a good meal. Another half pound or so of weight out of my pack. Okay. And here's the water I will be able to drink until my next stop. There's already water in here, so yeah, that should be enough. Don't want any more water than I have to have, but want to have enough. If I have too much water, it's extra weight. So ideally I'd have just enough to make it to the next stop. Okay, no more water, so I can go ahead and put stuff in my digging out water spot, my ice. I don't have to worry about clean snow now. The sun has moved. I put this where it was sitting in the sun last night to try to dry it out. It's mostly dried. I better move it over here because the sun's on the other side of the tent this morning. Obviously, it moves in a circle around, so see if I can't get that as dry as I can before I take off. Okay. Well, I've been going for just short of a week now, and every day been getting about half as many miles as what I need to get. So see if I can't kick out 20 miles today. To do it, I need to average 2 miles an hour, which doesn't seem very fast, but pulling all this gear, it's hard work in the snow. I can only go for a short time, then I have to stop and breathe, so it kills my time. It's just too hard to do to go at a, if I could just pull at a rate, I could just keep moving, but even going as slow as you can go is a big enough effort that I have to stop and recover. Every time you use the stove in the tent, it makes it really humid in here. Ice falling from the top of the tent now on me. Usually I try to keep this zipped up as much as possible while I'm doing stuff. It makes it a lot warmer in here. But since I'm recording from across the way, I figured I better leave it open. And the problem is, I'm trying to get this all in the stomach. My stomach's not big enough. Well, that's basically most of what I do in the morning. Get ready and get going. Wear my stuff inside the tent here as much as I can so I can dry it out. So, last thing I'll do, which will have to be after I put the camera away, is I deflate my mattress so that I can deflate the mattress, but it keeps me from having to be on the cold snow and ice right now. I'm going to build myself a pair of suspenders here. I tried this a little bit less successfully earlier, but I got a new idea. Oh, and the wind's picking up from my ride. The weather, they told me the weather is supposed to be windy today, windy tomorrow. And it's supposed to start getting a little bit better. Even though it's relatively warm in here, I'm now feeling a little cold. On a non-windy day, while I'm working, I just need the coat and my base layer, and that's all I have on, because it's a lot of work. Yesterday, with it being real windy, I have a piece of duct tape I stick on my nose, and that does a couple things. One, if I'm out in the sun, it protects it from the sun. The other is sometimes it gets I get a lot of ice on the inside of my stuff, and this protects my nose from frostbite against the ice inside my face mask. Oh, ow. Unbending the knee always is a little painful. For biking, I don't even need to tie these boots. Between all the sweating and going to the bathroom, I think I've lost my weight in water and replaced it with melted snow from Antarctica. So I guess at this point, since I've been drinking all that Antarctic melted snow, I literally have Antarctica in my blood. And about ready to go. 5:30. Time to get moving.